Right. So, maybe do you want to start at the beginning?
Okay. So, I guess through my work over, close to 30 years with communities, the issue of AOD stuff keeps coming up with families but I guess there's never been anything that really addressed and looked at what these communities actually wanted, because nobody's actually asked them. And the current system that is in place has got so many parameters around it and structural impediments around it that prevent the service from actually engaging well with these newly arrived communities, or even not so newly arrived communities, but who are still struggling with settlement issues post-settlement. So, and also on a personal level, there had been a lot of things that I had been, part of in my own life. So basically it became a baby. And it took me 2 years of solid advocacy. I mean, I'm talking weekends, nights, speaking to anybody that would listen, presenting to anybody in government from whichever department in order to start to find the pathway to who was going to fund something out there like this. And so the way I guess I work is working really closely with communities, like I said, wanting to know what they wanted and all that sort of stuff. So the model development itself had never been done before across Australia. And as far as I know, from all our lit reviews, it hasn't been done anywhere globally either. Okay, so just having all those different components, understanding that people are more than either their addiction or their refugee status or their whatever, that we've got to look at things more holistically was really important. And so the model came together quite easily, just thinking about those things. Yeah. So, having, community education for the whole community, to look at to stop stigmatising these families and individuals and kids. And also, I guess, then the intersection, for young women who are getting pregnant from their drinking, and then being thrown out. So that was destroying the community, really. They're losing their young people, in a sort of way that we could prevent and harm minimise, reduce the harm associated. So, and then doing peer education, we all know that works. We've got so much literature everywhere that knows that works. Right through, I guess, the thing that makes it different, like there's so many components, there's the workforce development component. So as I mentioned before, there's structural impediments with the sector and how they engage. But there is also other issues that need to be engaged with staff that exist. Okay, so there is two bits. So we did the training with BARDA. I established this amazing partnership. You guys are part of that.
Yep.
Everyone's got a really key role. But I think what makes this program stand out more than anything else is that my belief that no one supports parents to parent in a new context.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what this is, right? So it's struggling financially, it's struggling all this sort of stuff, and just not knowing. So lots of, periodically you might see a little article in the paper with, South Sudanese parents sending their kids back to Kenya to boarding school or whatever, or a woman who was arrested in Dandenong for chaining her son to the bed. So these are, so not wanting these kids to get in trouble, what do? They don't know what to do. No one's given them any tools or support. So that's why Drummond Street were involved as well. Trained our staff, worked on this. And I guess then the tandem stuff about the direct support was that we would go into the home, because we know that going to the service doesn't work, and work with the young person and the parents at the same time. So, does that answer that question?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
No, I hadn't realised the bit about going into the home, actually. I hadn't realised that was, I mean, that makes sense to me because I've worked as a youth worker out in the field and I've been into people's homes as an outreach worker, and it's so much for some families and participants, it's a no-brainer. You know, you're on their territory, in their space. You know, they feel more comfortable and trusting and, Yeah.
And there's no shame in going out to a service.
Exactly.
No one's going to see you going out. It's just someone coming over to their house from their own community as well.
Exactly.
So, you know, so it all sort of matches in and stops the stigma, and it's probably the most likely the only way that these people would ever engage in a service. So getting them to have parenting support, linking them in as, you know, because often either whether it's traditional youth work or AOD, they only work with the client. And what people said to us from the community, and I totally agree with this from personal experience, is that if you get help for a young person, you're only getting help for that young person, and you as a parent or as a support or a guardian or whatever are pushed aside.
Yeah.
So you're not actually, you know, because of confidentiality and all these sort of things that are completely foreign to these communities, when all they want to know is how to support the young person they love. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is, you know, I think it was a bit of a revolution. The model, I love the model.
The model's great.
Yeah, and it took me, you know, a little while to think about it and work with it and go back to the community and go, is this going to work for you?
Yeah.
Is this what you think?
Yep.
And, you know, and just tweaking it up, and they're going, wow, you know, we didn't even know we could ask for someone to come home.
Yeah.
And I said, well, we're going to ask, you know, there's no harm in asking, and we can be the first. So, yeah.
So tell me how what am I going to ask you? How you feel about where things are at?
Now, so I've spoken to one of the workers the other day because of the tragedy that happened a few weeks ago. Oh, it's horrible. So, maybe 3 weeks ago, it was a stolen car, 16-year-old driving, and the youngest kid in there was 14. 5 died.
South Sudanese?
2 Somali, but the rest was South Sudanese, but the one's still in hospital, you know, anyway. So there's been funerals and there's been more transmission, of course, because of cultural practice. Blah, blah, blah.
Oh, gosh.
And one of the mothers is in hospital and the 4 of her other kids are sick with COVID.
Oh,
so
gosh.
it's just, you know, so I guess this is a confidential bit. So tragic. So anyway, I spoke to one of the MDAPers because, you know, anything like this happens in the community, because I've been working on it with, you know, through the other Burnett project.
Yeah.
I know the impact it's had on that project.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to just check in. And so I spoke to one of them and they said, no more funding. And I said, oh no, I worked really hard before I left to ensure that we got the extra 6 months.
Yes.
I am I know I'm out of there and I know I've got nothing to do with it at all. But I know that if I had been there, I would have secured another 3 years.
Yeah, I did hear that it was sounding like it's not going to be refunded, and it's very disappointing because this project has such potential, and to not see that. The thing, I suppose, that one of the big issues obviously has been COVID, and, you know, the fact that the workers have had to be at home. You know, they're doing all this other amazing stuff online, but this project was all about connection in the community. And when you were talking about them being able to go into people's homes, that even reinforces it even more. You know, it takes time too, doesn't it? Engaging in community and building rapport and building trust and building, particularly with communities that don't necessarily have a lot of trust, for very good reason, because they've been, you know, they're stigmatised and they're, you know, and the relationships, you know, there's all sorts of awful things that happen.
So credit to the staff who have managed to do what they've managed to do during COVID. Absolutely. But I think for me, the tragedy is that we're not taking this, because there's so many people. I'm still in contact, obviously, with other communities who are like, Ali, how's that going? How's the evaluation going? When are we going to have it? And I spoke to